Hello everybody, welcome to Sunday Night Live here on this Easter Sunday. Hope everybody has had a fantastic Easter. We have had a great one, and I even have one of these massive, obscenely huge things that is definitely not going to make my waistline expand dramatically. But yeah, so I have that. The kids have similar sized things as well, and I had also a bag of mini eggs that I polished off in about 30 seconds flat. But so yeah, I hope everybody has had a great time. We had an Easter egg hunt on our estate here, which was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun. There are some very young kids here on the estate, so the trick was making sure that the kids, the youngest ones, got to go first, and then the older kids would hold back. Didn't entirely work 100%, but at least my kids were not really, badly behaved. Some other kids were, though. But anyway, I hope everyone is all right and has had a great Easter. And we got about 14 people in here, which is nice, a good start. It'd be nice if we could get a bigger crowd, but I'm well aware it's Easter and everybody wants to be with their families, which is fine. Especially, it's around about dinner time in the United States. So, everybody wants to hang out with their families for Easter, and that's absolutely a great thing to do. And that drawer is still open. I don't know why. There we go. We'll close that. All right. So tonight, we're going to be talking about the collaborative tools in Studio One with Persona Sphere. Now, I have covered those in my overview video, and I did a separate video on the collaborative tools as well. So please go and check those out. And I'm definitely prepared to make a further video to kind of overview the extra extended things like the notifications, the new notifications that you get inside of Studio One, and the quick and easy one-click way in which you can send and receive files from Studio One, from Persona Sphere, from the workspaces that you're a part of. I can do a standalone video on that if that's going to help people as well. But we got two questions covering this, and I just thought, you know what, why don't we just talk about this, seeing as there's a couple of questions on it. So let's go see who is here, and it looks like Ronald Figura was first in the house, and he has the question to do with I/O settings and screen settings, which we'll get to in just a minute. And Dave Barcelo is here as well. Billy Morgan is here. Carl Traduziak. John Hawk is here as well. Mike Johnson is here from Music to Motion. And Just Bob is here. It was very nice to see Bob on the Zoom call the other night when he was hanging out with Mike at Mike's place. That was very cool to talk to him. And Rich from Studio One Tuts is here as well. And notice I did say Tuts and not something else. That's got to be a first, because I'm aware I have said it a few times. John Edgar is here, and of course my dear friend Christina over in Denmark is also here. It will be 1 a.m. for you, Christina. You are a late bird, but I'm glad you're here. And of course my fabulous sponsor Alps Media LLC, my good friend Louis, is here, which is great. And let's see, who else do we have? I think I said Carl is here. And I think that's it, pretty much, which is awesome. And yes, Rich has the cheeky grin for the way I've been saying Studio One Tuts recently. It's very, very Freudian and somewhat amusing, especially to someone, I'm, 48, and I am somewhat immature. But anyway, so let's get to the questions, and then we will get into... So we'll get into these collaboration questions first. And if you guys have got any other questions, please do type at Jonny Lipsham Studios at the start of your question. That makes it show up in red for me, and then I can just pick that out as a question. It's easy for me to see it. So please do that. And I would appreciate that. Also, if you would like to ask a question and you're here and you're watching and you're not a subscriber yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, select all notifications, give it a few minutes, and then the chat will be opened up to you, because it is subscriber-only chat for a couple of reasons. One, basically just to keep it a little bit more secure and make sure that we don't get people posting porn links and that kind of stuff, which we did for a wee while. We had a few unsavory people come in and do some stupid stuff. So I set it to subscriber only. So if you want to be a part of the chat, please do so, but you're going to have to subscribe first. And then please do say hello, and then please ask your questions. On Sunday Night Live, we talk about Studio One primarily. So Studio One issues primarily, but you know, that we can talk about other things too, to do with music production and mixing and mastering and all of that fun stuff as well. So if you've got questions, get them in the chat, and we'll get started with Ronald's question first, then we'll get to Christina's question. And I'll try and get through those two questions quickly, because I know Christina, it's very late in the night for her, so I want to get to her question pretty quick as well. So I pinned Ronald's question, and the reason why I pinned it is because he was the first one to ask a question. If you want to have your post pinned, be the first one to ask a question, and I will pin your post. Alright, so he says, collabs. If I share my song in a collab, all my I/O settings and screen settings, because he has two monitors, with the Studio One console and a separate monitor, will not translate to the recipient. It's a good question, and it's a good point. Now, here's the thing. When you're working collaboratively, Studio One does not know the I/O of the recipient. It just doesn't. It's agnostic in that respect. So when you send a song, or when you create a workspace and you put something up in the workspace, and you invite people to join that collaboration, it will download the song. When you join that collaboration, it will automatically, you hit a start button, and it will download the entire song to your local computer if you are the recipient joining that collaboration. When that happens, it will download everything. So it will download all the settings files for that song, and that includes the I/O settings. So when you excitedly open up that song and you hit play and you hear no audio, the reason being is because Studio One is opening up with the other person's I/O settings. And also you might find that maybe the console is not there. It's detached and it's on another screen. That might be an issue. And so here is what you need to do. The first thing you need to do is you need to go into Studio One, which I'm going to show you just now. For those of you that don't know, what you need to do is you need to go to Studio One and you go to options. This is on a PC. On a Mac, it's preferences, and that option's like way up the top somewhere. And then you go to your audio setup and you select your audio device here. Okay. And then once that's done, you go into song setup and you just make sure that your I/O, your inputs, are set up how you normally have them set up. If you find that they're set up weirdly, then you just need to use your default configuration. And it may well be that you just need to quickly go and select all of these correctly, how you would normally have it. Now, here's the thing. You can, and you've been able to do this since Studio One 3.5, I believe, you've been able to import and export I/O settings. So this is useful in certain circumstances where you're wanting to send a file to somebody who does have a particular interface, and you want to make sure that they have your the same I/O settings. Then you can export them. Also, you can import their I/O settings as well, and you can send back and forth like that. So it works pretty easily. But you can also hit this button here, reset to default. So if all the I/O is screwed up because it's based on somebody else's I/O, you can hit reset to default, and it will set up the default I/O for your device, and then you can just customize it back to how you would normally have it. For example, in my case, I have a virtual input here, because I'm using loopback in order for the song to be able to work, which of course it's not going to play just now because I've got this open. But so I need this, and this is not part of the default IO setup. So you have to add this. All right, so make sure that all of this is done, and webcam's not on. Make sure all of this is done, and then make sure that your outputs are set the same. It may well be that somebody else has a different interface and their outputs are set to a different part. It may well be that they're using SPDIF or whatever. And that's why you're not hearing any audio, and you can just change that by selecting line out 1 and line out 2 if that's what you have set up on your audio device. And then you can just you can make that default. And basically any other songs that you use will use this default setting. But this is what happens when you are working collaboratively on a song. It's designed this way so that, you know, you can work on the song using your IO, but you can send files to the other person. And you can both have the same song open on your respective computers. You can actually do this practically at the same time. And basically, you're just updating the files. So if Christina, for example, does a vocal for Ron, she can send the vocal to Ron by just hitting the send button in the collaboration, and it will automatically update. And Ron will get a notification saying, hey, Christina has updated the song in the collaboration. And he can just hit receive, and he will receive Christina's vocal. And it will be there in the song just as Christina had added it. Vice versa, Ron could then go and say, hey, I've replaced the keyboard part because now that I've heard your vocal that you've done to it, I want to play a little bit more expressively. So I've done that. Here's the new keyboard part. Send, and then Christina does receive, and it just keeps the thing updated. But the initial setup, when you start doing a collaboration, this is the first thing you got to do. You got to get the IO set up correctly so that Christina has the correct IO, Ron has his correct IO. But once that is all set up, you can set that and forget it. You don't need to keep doing it every time you're sending files back and forth working in that collaboration. This is a one-time deal for each collaboration that you do, because Studio One does not know what the receiver's IO is going to be. So this is why you need to do it. And it is a pain in the butt, but it is kind of what it is at the moment, until we can figure out a way to be able to, for, you know, when the song is downloaded for Studio One to automatically detect the IO, and, you know, can reconfigure itself. This is kind of what you have to do. I believe there is a feature request over at answers.presonus.com for this. So this is actually being thought about by other folks, and we'll see what happens with that going forward. And why are you not seeing my webcam? There we go. I thought I'd fixed that. Apparently not. All right, so because I had clicked on it and I was just like, there you go, you should see the webcam, but you didn't. So now you do. Anyway, so this is, once you've got this set up, this is a one-time deal. Next thing you got to do, if, for example, you have you set up the song and Christina doesn't have 2 monitors, which I know she doesn't have, but Ron has the song set up so that the mixer or the console is on a different screen because he has more than 1 monitor. Now, I think it's in View, I think it is. Is it in Windows? Yes, there you go. View, Windows, reset window position. Or toggle detach console. That's the other thing you can do. And that will basically get if the console is detached, that will tell Studio One to reattach it so that it reappears at the bottom here. Because it might be that it's set like that. Now, I have the mixer, just like Ronald does, I have the mixer detached to my second screen. And Christina does not have this, so she would need to go to Windows and hit that toggle. And then that should bring the console back or you can do reset window position, especially if you've got plug-in windows on different screens. So if Christina opens up the Pro EQ because she wants to make an adjustment to a Pro EQ on the piano part or whatever, and the EQ is not opening up, it's because it's on an imaginary screen. It's on the screen that Ronald has set up. So that's where going to View, Windows, Reset Windows Positions is important. So, I mean, this goes for whether you're using the collaborative tools in PreSonusPHERE or not. If you're just sending a song to and fro between the two of you via Dropbox, but because let's say neither of you are members of PreSonusPHERE and you're just wanting to collab not using PreSonusPHERE and you're just using Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever it might be, then this will help you out. Reset Windows Positions, and this will make sure that all the plugins and everything will default to the main screen as it detects it on the computer. It'll detect which screen is the main one and which is the secondary one, and if there is a secondary one, it'll detect that. Okay, so that should hopefully address that question. Now, let's get to Christina's question. I have to quickly go find hers. There it is. When playing a collab song, the sound is very low. All has to be at max to hear it. How do I change it? Okay, so if, for example, you're using... I'm going to keep referring to Ronald's song here because this is a good analogy. So let's say Ronald has set up a collaboration with Christina and they are working together, but everything seems to be a little bit on the quiet side. Now, that could be that's just the way that Ronald has recorded it, because Ronald is a smart guy and he will have gone, okay, recording at a conservative volume is a good thing because it means it gives you headroom and you don't clip when you're recording. And so when that happens, what you can do is the first thing you need to do is turn off the console, because you don't need that. So let's get rid of that. So now that I've done that, then what you would do is you would look for audio parts here that are maybe a little on the quiet side, and then you can just click them and you can turn them up. Or you can put the console back on, which you may want to do, and you can use the input controls at the top here, and you can just increase the gain here. Now, all of these are set to 0 dB because everything's already been done. This is a completed song. This is already mixed. But if you don't see these input controls, then click on the wrench over here and go down to Channel Components and check this box here, Input Controls. Okay, so if they're not showing at the top of the channels, go over here and select that. Okay. Same with I/O connections. You might not see those. You might not see the sends. Make sure those are checked. And the same with like any channel icons that you may or may not see. All right, so make sure that all of this is set up exactly how you want it. And then you can go, okay, so let's imagine this vocal is a little bit on the quiet side. Let's go to the verse where the... Everything's against me, my back against the wall. Now, as it happens here, this is peaking around about -6, which is pretty good. So I wouldn't ordinarily need to do anything here, but let's say that I thought this was a little quiet. Then I can just come up here and I can just turn that up as much as I need to. In this case, we don't want to add any gain at all. But let's say at the end of this verse, see, these horns are maybe a little quiet. They're only peaking at like -12. So I could just turn them up, you know, just a little bit. Just like a dB or so. Now hanging tough. All right, so those are the kind of things you can do. Now, if you're saying you're having to max things out, i.e. you're pushing the faders all the way up to 10, up to the top of the channel here, just in order just to barely hit it, then that's a gain problem. And you can, like I said, you can use the input controls here, or you can close the mixer altogether and you can go grab the the actual audio vents, and you can turn them up. You can just grab here and you can drag upwards, and that will increase the gain there. So those are all options to increase the gain on audio that's recorded. And I would do that because when you are recording it, having quiet audio is okay. What you may want to do is the other thing you can do actually is you can turn up this master fader if you really want to. You can turn up the master fader. That's something you can also do. The other thing you can do is you can check what your speaker volume is here. Like mine here is set to 89%. I could turn that up to 100. I could also turn up the headphone volume. Those are things I would do first before you start adding gain to anything. Only add gain to things if you see that the volumes here are really, really low. If the volumes here are really, really low, then that's because there's not a whole lot of gain in the audio when it was recorded. But if those all appear fine and they are all of a good level, you can see on the meters that they're kind of around about -12, -6, which is a good kind of level. Then the thing to do is turn up your headphones. And if your headphones are cranked already, turn up your system volume as well, which is kind of down, which is on a Windows machine, that's down here. You can just crank this up a little bit more. If you're on a PC, you have to do that another way. If you're on a Mac, you have to do that a different way. I'm not quite sure how you do that on a Mac. But yeah, I hope that that actually helps resolve that little issue. But it's a good question. Let's see, what else do we have? It looks like Boris had a question. Boris says, if you go off topic from collaboration, could you speak on fader port customization? Well, I could. I only have the 2-channel fader port. Sorry, 2-channel. The black fader port 1-channel fader. That's all I have. I don't have the fader port 8 and I don't have the fader port 16, so I can't really speak to those devices. And so really, there's not a whole lot of collaboration that I can collaboration. I'm totally messing up all my words here. Can I start again? Customization. That's the word I'm trying to say, not collaboration. Customization. I don't have the fader port 8 or fader port 16, so there's not really a whole lot that I can do with customization. And the other thing is, you won't be able to see it because I've only got the one camera, which is this one here, staring at this very, very attractive face. So you're not really going to see a whole lot. However, there are ways in which you can set up the fader port to map some of the buttons. You can map some of the buttons. You can do that with MIDI Learn. You can do that in Universal Control as well, I think. I think you can do it in Universal Control, but you can also do it with MIDI Learn, and you can just assign things. It's fairly straightforward to do. Mike says to Christina, I had to raise the master fader last time the collab song because it was way low. Yeah, if the audio on the channels is really, really low, increase the gain. It's the gain that's the problem that's making the song quiet. Go raise the gain is what I would suggest. You could also, as Rich says here, you could add mix tool on the master. That way you can disable or remove it. Yep, that's certainly a good way to do it as well. Just use the mix tool, bung it in here. You're not sure where mix tool is. It's going to be here in alphabetical order. Mix tool, whack that under there, and then you can just like crank up the gain. So you can just turn this guy up until it sounds like it's a good volume, without clipping. Just keep an eye on it. Make sure it doesn't clip. And then when you're finished, you can just remove that, or you can just set it to disable. Save the song, let the song update to the collaboration. Ron can open it up and he can then go, okay, so you've had mix tool on here to get the volume up. That's fine. I can enable that and I can hear it at that volume as well. Or if I don't need it, I can just disable it again. All right, so that's definitely one way to do it. But yeah, so that was the fader port question. Let's see. Ron says, with the mains at 0 dB, my speakers are killing it. I need to set up my error speakers to be at the proper level for playback monitoring. Yeah, setting up speakers is probably going to be key. For sure. Oh, Martin Castley is here. Martin, my good friend. Martin is an old friend of mine. I'm not in terms of his age, but he and I go back a very, very long time. I'm so glad to see you here, Martin. Welcome. He says, happy Easter and congratulations on passing the 5,000 mark. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it. Let me go back over here. I'm so glad you found my show, and I hope you enjoy it. This is basically where I answer people's questions about Studio One. I work for Presonus, as you may or may not know, and I do this out of the goodness of my heart. I don't expect anybody to kind of donate or anything like that. You can if you want. People can if they want. There's a link to it in the description below, but you don't need to. This is all for fun. Pretty much. This is all for fun. But yeah, Martin, I'm glad you're here. I've known Martin for many, many years. I think we met maybe, 1998, maybe? 98, 99, something like that. When I lived in London. Martin is hilarious. He's also a very, very talented guitarist, songwriter, musician, and journalist. So yeah, Martin, so glad to see you, mate. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? Just Bob says, can you separate out the lyrics track to another screen for the singer to follow? And can you color code the lyrics to match wave colors using verse, solo, bridge, etc.? The first part of your question you can do because there is a lyrics display, which I'm going to show you now. So if I go to view and hit lyrics display, here is the lyrics display. So if I go back up to the top of the song, notice how it automatically, you can't see it. Notice how it automatically jumps. All right, so to get to that, you go view lyrics display. And you can set that to a key command if you want. I haven't done that. I probably should because I use it a lot. And you can expand this sucker. You can make it as big as you want. And yes, you can bung it over onto... he says, great. Martin says, great to see you working in music still. Thank you very much. Yes, I've been in this music business now for, oh dear gosh, a very, very long time. But yes, I'm still making music, and I'm still writing songs, and I'm still making records. But as I say, working for Presonus as well, which is great. I love it. I love my job. So yeah, but you can center this, you can have it left, you can change the font size. So if you're not sure that's big enough for you, you can make it massive like that. And you can totally shufty that off onto a second screen just drag it across. It also works on the Studio One remote. Studio One remote, by the way, is freaking awesome. I should show you this. This is going to be fun to try and show you, but I'm going to try with this iPad Pro. Helps if you type in the right password. There we go. Studio One remote. And then link it to the Windows PC. Okay, I'm going to go over to the main screen here. And I'm going to try and show you this. It's going to be a little bit tricky. But here is Studio One remote, and you can see somewhere on that screen you should be able to see a letter L, which is down there at the bottom. Kind of where my finger is, there's a letter L. Now, when I tap on that, that will bring up the lyrics display. So if I now play the song, you can see this scroll. Hang on.
Everything's against me, my back against the wall, holding all the worst cards, I feel 2 feet tall. I'll stand and shout, no holding back.
Alright, so there you go. So you could give the iPad to your, if you have one, or an Android device, if you don't have an iPad, you can hand that off to your vocalist and they can watch the lyrics. Now, to the second part of your question, can you color code them to be the same color as verse and chorus according to what you've done in the arranger track? Back over here. The answer is no. Basically, the color is when the lyric is pending, i.e. you're about to sing it, it's white. Let's jump to the verse here. And then when you're on the lyric, it's blue, and then it goes gray when it is done. Watch this.
When everything's against me, my back against the wall, holding all the worst cards, I feel 2 feet tall. I'll stand and shout, no holding back. Do or die, gonna dig myself a hole.
Now notice how it automatically scrolls as well. But that is kind of it at the moment. It doesn't go according to the color coding that you've used in the arranger track. If I just close this, see how my verses are yellow, my choruses are green, the solo section is red, and the intro is kind of this off blue kind of color. It doesn't follow this color convention. It has its own little color convention, which is basically taken from the color conventions used in devices like karaoke machines, but just no bouncing ball. We could have a bouncing ball, I suppose, maybe. Okay, there we go. I hope that answers that question. Let's see, what else do we have? You guys are talking to Martin, which is great. Thank you, folks, for making Martin feel so welcome here. Hopefully, Martin, you'll be back and you'll watch this show again at some point. That'd be cool. Oh, and by the way, after this show, we tend to gather on an after-show Zoom call as well. So if you want to come join us, if you are still a night bird, like maybe you might be, if you still are, come and join us. A Zoom link will be put in the show towards the end, and you're very welcome to come join us. That would be pretty cool, and you can meet some of these people as close to being for real as we can get these days. All right, let's see. Boris says, I have 2 aggregated quantums. Since the update, I can't make a keyboard shortcut to control TalkBack. Any ideas? We are aware of that issue with TalkBack, and also these controls here, which you probably see. Hang on, let me turn off my camera. These ones. These are the audio device controls. Now, I have just a few basic controls for the 1824, but if you have something like a Studio Live mixer, you'll have a few more options here. The Quantums also have a few more options here. If you are on a Mac, this section may be entirely missing. We are aware of that issue. It is a known issue and is being worked on as we speak, and hopefully will be fixed in an update soon. And you should get those controls back. We don't know why it happened. It just happened. It only happens on a Mac. On a PC, they appear just fine. But on a Mac, for some reason, they're gone. We're not quite sure why. But it will be fixed very, very soon. For sure. And I'm going to put that back up there and go back over here. There we go. Martin says to John Echo, he says, living in Cornwall, UK now. Myself and Johnny used to hang out in London, but we've been dispersed to either end of the kingdom. And what's hilarious is I grew up in Cornwall. I spent from about the age of 10 to 17 in Cornwall. 10 to nearly 18. Oh no, actually I was 18 when I left Cornwall. There you go. So from about the age of 10 to about the age of 18, I lived in Cornwall. And then I moved to London. And then I moved to Scotland. I moved back home to my homeland of Scotland in 2006. And not so many years ago, Martin moved away from London down to my old county of Cornwall, which is hilarious. We've both kind of gone. I've gone Cornwall to London, and then he's gone down that way, and I've gone up that way. It's very, very entertaining. But yeah, Martin and I have been very good friends for many years, and he's one of the funniest people I know, by the way. Let's see. New BBC show Beyond Paradise is filmed in your village. Yes, it is. I saw that. I saw that they're filming that there. Martin also says, sounds great, but I'm off to bed soon. Definitely another night. Well, you know, I do a show on a Wednesday as well, which is aimed at songwriting. So it's the same kind of time, round about midnight, which is 6 p.m. Central Time, which of course does not affect you down in Cornwall. But yeah, on a Wednesday, I do a midnight show then, which is aimed more at songwriting and music theory and that kind of thing. It's still kind of Studio One based, but it's more to do with songwriting techniques, lyric writing, harmony, melody, rhythm, music theory, all of that kind of fun stuff. And we tend to do an after show then as well. So you can either, go for Sunday or Wednesday, whichever works out best for you. And of course, we tend to meet up on other occasions as well, other nights, as well, because we're a bunch of friends, all spread out across the world. So you're welcome to come join us, mate, for sure. I'm sure my friend Mike Johnson will reach out to you as well and see what we can include you in if you're up for it. All right. Any other questions? Oh yes, I didn't really finish answering Boris's question because I think he had another one. Did you have a second question, Boris? If you did, I can't see it anymore. Oh, Bob had a question. Can you explain sync point for audio files? What are they and how do you use them? Well, to be fair, I don't actually use them, and it's a feature I have not actually used. But it is something I want to do a video on because basically I didn't do a video on it, mostly because I just didn't get to it. I had a lot of videos to make at the time of launching Studio One 6.1, and I guess I just never actually got to making a video about the sync points. But I'm going to, so there will be a video that covers it. But right now it's not a feature that I'm extremely familiar with. So I want to be able to do it justice, so I will get a video out on using the sync points. Gregor has a good one. I think it's Joe that has the video on the sync points. So that's on the Personas YouTube channel. Go and check his video out as well. And I will do my own one in my own inimitable style. I would not expect Joe to try and imitate my style, let alone my accent, although he has tried. Let's see, what else do we have? Any other questions that I have missed? Okay, Boris says he's good. Okay, cool. I thought you had a second one, and I couldn't see it. Uh, uh, uh. Martin, I think, is still on Facebook. Martin, what I will do, if you are up for it, if you're still on Facebook, I think you still are. If you are, Martin, I will send you a link to Michael's group called Music to Motion. And a lot of fun and hilarity takes place there. And it's all music related, and we talk about music, we talk about songwriting, we talk about all sorts of things, and we just have a lot of fun together as well. It's like being in a pub. Okay, Martin is still on Facebook. Cool. All right, I'll drop you a link after as soon as I get off the show, Martin, and you are more than welcome to come join. For sure. All right, we've got about 15 minutes left. Anybody got any other questions? Otherwise, this is going to be a slightly shorter than normal show. I don't tend to mind that. Okay, okay, great. Mike and Martin are working it out. I don't need to do anything. Yay! Let's see. You answered some questions I had tonight. Okay, cool. So John had questions, but I have answered those. Awesome. Yeah, so the collaboration thing is all a little bit kind of... It looks like it's really, really complicated, but it's not as complicated as you think. Mostly because we have made it super streamlined with the notifications that you get. And, you know, it's super easy when you see that somebody has done something in a folder that you're working in, a collaboration that you're working in, you'll see that there's a notification there and there'll be a receive button there. And you can just go click on that receive button, and what that will do is that will just download all the files to the song that you've been working on. And it'll update whatever was in the song. It's super, super easy, and it's so much better than the way we used to do it with Pressonosphere. So this is kind of taking Pressonosphere to the next level with regard to people being able to work together regardless of where they are in the world. It's incredibly easy. And it makes file sharing a breeze. No longer do you have to use a third-party application like Dropbox or Google Drive. Although, you know, those work reasonably well, and I have used those before. But now, with the way we have workspaces set up and being able to send and receive files just by the click of one button, and, you know, the song both exists in the workspace, in Pressonosphere, in your accounts, but it also exists locally on your computers, and it updates automatically when you hit the receive button to receive any new files, or send to send any new files to everybody else. And all they just need to do is hit the receive button, and they get exactly what you have done in their song. And I hit the mic, and everything is shaking because I did that. It's so good. David Barcelow says, what about security? Security is paramount, obviously. Everything is done via your mypresonus.com account. So, it's all done internally in that respect. So, Pressonosphere is 100% completely locked down and secured and encrypted. All right? You know, if you look at the URL for my.presonus.com, it is HTTPS. So it's secure, it's encrypted. Everything takes place literally between Studio One and your MyPresonus account. It's kind of that's how it works. It doesn't necessarily go through a web browser or anything like that in that respect. It's just working between the connection that Studio One has with the server. And that's it. So it's completely secure. Roll says, so if I record a new track and delete a track, sending that to the collab will only reflect those changes. Yeah, if you delete a file, then it might come up as a missing file if you've already hit send. If you've already hit send and then decide, oh, actually, that's the wrong file. I don't want to send that file. Then when you delete it, I'm not sure. I've not actually done this. I've not actually tested this 100%. But two things may happen. One, the song will just say there is an update for that song. In your notifications, it'll say a file's been deleted or something, and you just need to update the song. Or two, you hit receive and there's nothing to receive because it'll say the file's deleted, or that notification might just disappear because you've deleted the file. So I think it's one of those two scenarios. I've not actually tested that to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that that's what will happen. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's incredibly cool, actually. I wish we had this years ago. Because what I do with clients now, when I'm doing session work for clients outside of my day job at Presonus, I use workspaces with them. All they have to do is create a free My Presonus account. They don't even have to have Presonus Sphere. They don't. All they need is the free My Presonus account, and that's it. It helps if they have Studio One, obviously, because it's all done through Studio One. Some of my clients, they just have Studio One Prime, and all I'm sending is audio files anyway. I'm not sending virtual instruments. I don't send, to my clients that I do session work for. I'm just sending either a piano part, a vocal part, or a bass part, or something like that, or maybe a saxophone part or a trumpet part, something like that. So they're audio files. So I can just upload audio files to a shared workspace, and then they can just take them out, and they don't even need to use Studio One if they don't want to. But if they have Studio One Prime, then that would work. But the best collaborative scenario is for everybody to have Presonus Sphere, because then you get the best of the collaborative experience. But if you don't have it, you don't have to. You don't have to. That's the point. You just need a free My Presonus account. Delta Soundscapes is here. Hello, Delta. Good to see you. I think you're new to my show. You are very welcome. If you have a question, you have 12 minutes to get your question in here and for me to answer it. So get that in quickly. I would appreciate that. But welcome. And a very happy Easter to you too. Just Bob says, if the track's been sent and used by another person, if you delete on your end, they would still have it. They, in turn, would need to delete and add. Okay, so Bob has tested that. Okay, cool. There you go. So if Bob's tested that, then that's probably the answer. Like I said, I haven't actually tested that particular aspect of it. All I did when I was testing it was basically just make sure that it works. That I could send and receive files with a song. And I worked, I think, who did I work with? I worked with one of my colleagues at Presonus. And we just created a collaboration, and we just sent a few files back and forth that way. And I did a few things on his side, on the song, and he did a few things on his. He did some guitar tracks, I did some keyboard tracks and some drum programming, and yeah, it was great fun, and it's so super easy. But the one thing we didn't test was, what if one of us deletes a file? That's one thing we didn't do. Probably should have. Then I'd be able to get a definitive answer to that question, but I didn't. Martin says, sorry, sleep is calling. Lovely to meet you all, and I'll hopefully get along to a meetup very soon. Great show, Johnny. Look forward to the songwriting one. Cheerio. Martin, great to see you. Thanks for coming, buddy. And hopefully see you on Wednesday's show for Songwriting Simplified. Same time, same place, different day. That's it. All right, we got 10 minutes to go. Any more questions? Just Bob says, I had tracks from Billy, deleted a track by accident. He didn't tell me he lost that track. I just reinstalled. Okay, cool. All right, so you guys have actually tested that accidentally. And it kind of worked for you. All right, that's cool. That was my first time using Sphere. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. That's the best collaborative experience that you'll get if everybody has Persona Sphere. Like I said, I'm using workspaces with my clients. They don't have Studio One for the most part. I think one or two of them do, but most of them don't. So the ones that do, I've recommended to go get Persona Sphere so they have the best of the collaborative experience. But those that don't, they use Pro Tools or they use Logic. And I just have a workspace and I just literally upload audio files and they just get them out of there and upload them into Logic or Pro Tools. 'Tis the way it works. Kyle has the link to the after show meetup. Thank you, Kyle. That's awesome. We'll be heading over there very shortly. For sure. I'm just kind of reading what you guys are saying here. Kyle will co-host until I join. Okay, no problem. No problem, Mike. Splendid. All right, so we got 8 minutes left. If we don't have any more questions, we can just end here. And it'll be a little bit early to end, but that's okay. I don't mind. I wasn't expecting loads and loads of people here. But we've peaked at 21, 22, which is cool. That's actually pretty great for an Easter Sunday. I wasn't expecting quite that many. All right, so we don't have any more questions. Okay, cool. That's fine. We'll just end it here, I think, is what we'll do. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and thank you for your questions. If you have questions that you have not had answered, you've got a little bit of time to get them in. Otherwise, we will be ending here. But if there are no further questions and you think of something, maybe after the show or maybe tomorrow, feel free to go down to the website. There's the website right down there, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, and hit on the contact us form and send me an email, and you can ask a question and I will get you an answer. I'll either reply to you in the email or I will make a video actually out of a standalone video out of your question, or we can address it in the next show, either on a Wednesday or on a Sunday. But otherwise, I think we will end it there, and we will go over to the after show party that Kyle is going to host in lieu. Oh, Paul Morgan's just arrived. Paul, we're just finishing up the show, dude. It's fine. If you want to come join us over on the after show Zoom, Kyle has the link above you there in the chat. Just click on that and we can all pile over there, and I'll be there for a wee bit before I head to bed, because I am going to be absolutely incredibly busy tomorrow. Don't forget, folks, at the end of the month, the last Sunday of April, we will be having a giveaway for an Audiobox Go, I think it is, that I'm going to be doing with Louis. Louis is going to be guesting on the show, and we're going to talk a bit about what he does at Alps Media, because I'm sure you guys would want to know what he is all about and what he does. And we will do the giveaway live on the show. One of you folks will be the lucky recipient of an Audiobox Go. I would love to have one as well. But we'll see. I may get one. I may get one because it looks like a cool little device that I can just, chuck into my bag when I'm on the road. And I've got an interface to work with. So that will be the last Sunday of the month, the last Sunday Night Live of the month. And we'll be doing that to celebrate passing 5,000 subscribers. We are now heading very quickly, very rapidly towards 5,100, which is pretty awesome. What is an Audiobox Go? I hear you ask. I'm glad you asked. An Audiobox Go is basically a tiny portable version of the Audiobox. Now, I always thought the Audiobox itself was pretty darn transportable, personally, but it's even smaller. It basically has, I think it's 2 I/O is what it has. And And it's basically a smaller, more compact version of the audio box. It's black, it's sleek, it's sexy, and it's great for mobile recording and for working when you've just got access to just a laptop and you don't want to use your internal sound card on your laptop because the internal sound card may be a little bit crap, and if it is, and you want to avoid all of those latency and audio issues that you might get by using an onboard sound card, you can use the AudioBox Go as your interface instead. Just stuff a pair of headphones into the headphone port, crank up the volume, and you're good to go. And you're using AudioBox with universal control. You get better latency, you get better audio quality, and if you get it all set up correctly with your laptop, you won't get any cracks and popples, oh dear God, crackles and pops. What has happened to my powers of speech? And I have not had a single drop of alcohol because I am on these monstrosities. So I can't drink whilst I'm taking those. No, it's USB bus powered. There's no power supply for it. It's USB bus powered. Because it's designed to be portable, hence the name AudioBox Go. I can show you. I think I can show you it. Hang on a minute. It's worth having a look. So let's just take the time to go have a look. Audio interfaces, AudioBox Go. Here we go. I'll show you it. I'll show you what it looks like. There you go. That's what it looks like. So it's 2 I/O, so you got inputs, and you got a mix knob, and you got the main out here. You got your headphones, and I think all the plugs and things are on the back. I think, yes. There they are. So those are your main outs there. You've got your mic line, and then you've got your instrument, and these are all on the rear of the device. And there's your USB port right there. And that's what it looks like. It's cute. It does the job. And it's pretty simple. Connect your headphones there. Connect your mic or line there. Connect your instrument there. Connect your computer via USB there. Connect your speakers there. Job done. Get yourself a set of HD9s if you're doing any recording, and Bernard Durante, and you also get Studio One Artist as well. Oh no, you don't. You get Studio One Prime. Excuse me, you don't get Studio One Artist at all. You get Studio One Prime. But if you've already got Studio One Professional or Artist, or you're a member of Sonosphere, don't worry about Studio One Prime. You also get Capture Duo as well, which is another 2-track audio recording software, which is very, very cool. And there's a little video here that Joe did as well. So you can check that out. Worth it for the headphones alone. The headphones don't come with it, no. You have to purchase those. But the headphones are great. I think those ones are the Eris Bluetooth headphones. I think that's what is pictured there. They don't come with the AudioBox Go. They are a separate product. But those are actually worth getting as well. If I go to products, studio accessories, I think it's these ones here. Yeah, it's these ones here. The Eris HD 10BT, which are Bluetooth headphones. And they are pretty sexy looking devices. And you got this guy who needs a haircut pictured there. Let's go back to audio interfaces. Let's go back to the audio. Go. There you go. So yeah, it's a pretty cool little device, and this is what we're going to give away. But yes, it has phantom power. That's what this little blue button here is, the 48V. That's your phantom power. So if you're using a condenser microphone, you need that. If you're using a dynamic microphone, you do not need that. But yeah, it is there. All right. So there you go. That is the AudioBox Go. This is what we are going to give away. It's extremely cool. Features the X-Max L preamp, which is basically what is present in most of the AudioBox interfaces. So we're not scrimping here on the pre's for the mic inputs. They are pretty darn high quality X-Max pre's. So well worth getting hold of if you don't have one. But stick around. Last Sunday of the month, we will be giving this away to one lucky individual. And it's a great fun device. I want one. And I'm hoping that they will send me one, actually. I'm hoping that I can ask my boss nicely and he'll get me one. Get one sent out to me, which would be really cool. So there you go. That is that. All right, so HD9s are really good, but they are wired. As you can see, I've got a set of these. I've got several sets of these because I did years ago, before I became a Presonus employee. They said, hey, do you want to do a video reviewing the HD9 and HD7s? I said, sure. So they sent me a couple of pairs of these and a couple of pairs of the HD7s. Now I work for the company, which is awesome. But that was like my first thing that I did for the company. Basically anytime they were advertising the HD9s or HD7s, that was the video that I made for them so that they could promote it. It's really cool. And they are great sounding headphones. As United Effects says, he says, I picked up a pair of HD9s. Great sound for not a lot of money. Definitely. They are closed back, so I wouldn't recommend using them for mixing, but they sound pretty good. They're great for recording. The mixing, the ones that are a little bit more designed for mixing are these ones here. These are the HD9s, and I'm a little bit tangled. Hang on. There we go. And they are semi-open back, so you can use these for recording. I have done. The vocals that you heard earlier were recorded using these headphones. So they're semi-open back. So not fully closed, they're not fully open, they're semi. And they are really good for mixing on as well. I have mixed with those as well. So there you go. We will call it there, guys. We'll call it the end of the show there, because that was the extra question that I was after. All right, folks. If you want to join us for the after show, please do so. Kyle has the link in the chat somewhere. You can just scroll up and go and grab it. Until then, folks, I will see you on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified. That'll be really cool if you can come along and ask your songwriting questions, music theory questions, arranging, composing, any questions you've got to do with those kind of subject areas, we will cover. Ronald had a question that he wanted me to address actually for that. So we're going to talk about inversions of chords, and we're going to talk about altering chords as well. So inversions and alterations to chords is kind of going to be the subject matter for Wednesday's show, and then we'll take your questions from there. So I'll see you then, 6 p.m. Central Time, Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week. See you then. Good night.